Okay, guys, welcome back. We're on lesson 4. We're talking about how animals help people. There are many ways animals help people. So, let's find out some of those ways. First, we have many animals live in the wild. We learned wild before. Wild is there are no people living there, no humans. So those animals don't live with humans, they live in the wild. Those animals don't help people because they don't live with people. They're apart from people. But some animals live with people. So some animals live in the wild away from people, but some animals live with people. We have two types of animals, wild animals and animals that live with people. These animals, what animals? The animals that live with people, those animals. These animals that live with people are pets. We talked about pets. Pets are small animals that live in people's homes, like dogs, cats, hamsters, fish, birds, right? These animals are pets. Having a pet is great, right? Having a pet is fun. Pets are very cute. But you have to take care of your pet, right? Be responsible with your pet. Having a pet is great. Terrific, wonderful, yay, very happy, right? Is great. Why? Because pets are fun to play with. Pets are fun to play with. You can play with your pets. That's one reason. Also, pets help us not to be lonely. So, if we are lonely, we have a pet, then we aren't lonely. We can play with our dog. We can play with our cat. Pets help us not to be lonely. Pets can be very important too. So here we see two ways that pets are great. One, we can play with them. Two, they help us not be lonely. And we have an idea here, pets can be very important too. We have to read more to find out how they can be important also. Not just to play with and not just to help us feel not lonely, but also they can be important. But first, let's review. Many animals live in the wild, but some live with people. These animals are pets. Having a pet is great. They are fun to play with. Pets help us not to be lonely. Pets can be very important too. This is an important sentence. Let's find out how pets can be very important. Let's continue. This is how pets can be important. Some people need their pet to help them. So pets can be very important because they can help people. For example, many blind people, remember blind means they cannot see. People who are blind, they can't see. But pets, right? Many blind people have dogs for pets. Dogs help them walk. So this dog here is helping this person who is blind. They help them walk. The dog will help that person walk and say, be careful, watch out, right? Well, it won't say that, but it will help the person know by what the dog does. Dogs help blind people walk. So some people need their pet to help them. Many blind people have dogs as pets. Dogs help them, the blind people, right? The blind people, them walk. So dogs help blind people walk. This is how pets can be important too for many people. Let's review. Some people need their pet to help them. Many blind people have dogs for pets. Dogs help them walk. So this is one example of how dogs can help people in a very important way. Let's move on. They help blind people cross the street. They, of course, are the dogs that are the pets. Dogs help blind people, what do? Cross the street. If somebody's blind, they can't see if the car is coming. They don't know. But the dog can help them, right? Without a dog, a blind person might fall. Also, a blind person might fall down. The dog can know if there's a change in the road. So without a dog, if the blind people don't have a dog, a blind person might fall down. Dogs help blind people get home. Get home, arrive home, go back home, right? So blind people, they have to go outside. Maybe they want to walk for exercise. They go to the store to buy things. Then they have to go back home. They have to return to their home. So dogs help blind people return home safely, get home safely, so that they don't have a problem. They won't fall down or a car doesn't hit them. Without a dog, a blind person might get lost, right? So without a dog, a blind person might get lost. They don't know where the home is. So how do they know which way to go? They can use a dog. We have two interesting expressions. Without a dog, right? This means if they don't have a dog. If there is no dog, then he might fall. He might get lost. Two things that might happen, maybe happen. Not for sure, but maybe it will happen. One, the blind person might fall down. Two, the blind person might get lost. Without a dog, these things could happen. It's possible. Okay, let's review. They help blind people cross the street. Without a dog, a blind person might fall. Dogs help blind people get home safely. Without a dog, a blind person might get lost. So without a dog, a blind person might get lost. And without a dog, a blind person might fall. Two different ways to say what would happen if the person doesn't have a dog. Okay. Not just blind people, also deaf people. Many deaf people have dogs too. Wait, deaf? What does that mean? A blind person cannot see. A deaf person cannot hear. Okay? So a deaf person cannot hear. Many deaf people have dogs too. Dogs help them hear things. So, just like dogs help blind people because they can't see, dogs also help deaf people not to hear things, but to know when things happen. Okay? Dogs listen for the doorbell. So if I go to somebody's home, I ring the doorbell, ding dong. A deaf person cannot hear, but the dog can hear, and the dog can go to the person, and touch that person and get excited. A deaf person can see the dog. Oh, what's up? Oh, the doorbell. Okay. Dogs again. Dogs wait for the telephone to ring. So a deaf person who has a dog, the dog waits in the home, waiting for the doorbell to ring or for the telephone to ring. Because a deaf person can't hear the doorbell. A deaf person can't hear the telephone, but the dog can. So the dog can help the owner, the person, to hear those things or to know those things happened. So let's review. Many deaf people have dogs too. Dogs help them hear things. They listen for the doorbell, the dogs. They wait for the telephone to ring. So then they can tell the deaf people these things happened. Okay. They touch you if they hear something. They are dogs, right? Dogs. They touch you. So the dog hears the doorbell, goes to the person and touches that person. or licks that person, right? And the deaf person goes, what? What's going on? And the dog can tell the person, hey, the doorbell rang. The telephone is ringing. Okay. Dogs can also be alarm clocks. A dog can be an alarm clock. You can wind it up, say, okay, you go off at 6 o'clock. Of course, dogs know. They know what time it is. When the sun comes up, right? They can go and wake somebody up. Hey, the sun came up. Get up. Wake up. Don't sleep anymore. I have a dog. In the morning, the dog knows when it's time to eat. So the dog barks, ruff, ruff, I'm hungry. So we know, oh, okay, get up, go feed the dog. So dogs can be alarm clocks too. Okay, look at how helpful they can be. They are the dogs again, right? Dogs. Dogs can be very helpful. They help people in many ways. They help blind people. They help deaf people. They help everybody as alarm clocks. They can help us in many different ways. Do you have a pet at home? Do you have a pet, an animal at your house? Is it helpful too? Is it helpful? Is your dog helpful? Do you have a cat? Is your cat helpful? Cats sometimes aren't helpful, but they make us not be lonely, so they can be helpful. Fish, birds, they make us happy, so they can be helpful. Is it helpful? Is your pet helpful also? Okay, let's review. They, dogs, they touch you if they hear something. Dogs can also be alarm clocks. Look at how helpful they can be. Do you have a pet at home? Is it helpful too? So a couple of different questions at the end of this reading passage. Okay, let's do our reading comprehension questions. We just read a passage about how animals can help us. So let's see how well we remember the reading and see if we can answer these questions. Number 1, this story is about. What is this story about? What's the main subject of this story? A, helpful animals. B, getting lost. C, helpful things. D, crossing the road. Well, of course, this reading passage was about animals that help us, how animals can help us. So it was talking about helpful animals, animals that can help us. How can animals help us? B, getting lost. You might think, well, they talked about getting lost in the passage, right? Because blind people can get lost without a dog. But that's only a small detail of the reading passage. It's not the whole subject. It's just a small detail. The whole subject is helpful animals. Okay? What about C? Helpful things. Well, that's too wide, right? We're not talking about helpful things, anything. We're talking about more specific animals. So we're talking about helpful animals, not helpful things. We're talking about helpful animals. Things is too wide. It's more narrow. Animals are what we're talking about. Helpful animals. D, crossing the road. Well, yeah, we talked about crossing the road. Dogs help people cross the road. But again, that's a small detail. It's not about the whole passage. It's not the whole subject of the passage. So that's not good. Our correct answer, our best answer is A. This story is about helpful animals. Okay, number 2. Dogs can help beep. So, what did we read about? What can dogs help people, or what can they help to do? How can they help? Dogs can help what? A, drive cars. B, blind and deaf people. C, cook dinner. D, doctors in surgery. So we see two kinds of groups in these answers. One is dogs can help do something, drive cars or cook dinner, or dogs can help people. Okay? So they can help do something or they can help people. Which is the right answer though? Dogs can help drive cars. Did we read in the story that dogs drive cars? No, that was not in the passage. Anything about dogs driving cars. Of course, we know dogs can't drive cars. That's very silly. Dogs can help blind and deaf people. That's what we read about in the passage. We saw an example. We saw examples how dogs can help blind people. They can help them cross the street. They can help them not get lost. They can help deaf people because they can hear the doorbell or the telephone. So yes, dogs can help blind and deaf people. That is true. That's our answer. Let's look at C. Dogs can help cook dinner. That's crazy, right? The passage didn't say that dogs can cook dinner, right? And of course we know that dogs can't cook dinner. Dogs can eat dinner. They eat it very well, but they can't cook dinner, right? And of course the passage didn't say anything about dogs cooking dinner. Did we read that dogs can help doctors in surgery? No, we didn't read anything about dogs in hospitals helping doctors in surgery. We didn't read anything about that, so that is not correct. The best answer, we read about how dogs can help blind and deaf people. That was one of the two of the main examples of the reading passage. So that's the right answer, B. Okay, let's move on to number 3. Some animals beep. What's the answer? A, grow lettuce. B, are lonely. C, drink oil. D, live with people. So when we look at this passage, remember at the beginning of the passage, we saw there are like two groups of animals. Some animals live in the wild, and some animals live with humans, right? That's what we need right here. But anyway, let's look at these answers. A, some animals grow lettuce. There was nothing in the passage about animals growing lettuce. That's silly. Some animals are lonely. Well, maybe, but we didn't read in the passage about animals being lonely. We read about people might be lonely, but not animals. So we didn't read about that. Some animals drink oil. There was nothing in the passage about animals drinking oil. That's kind of a silly thing anyway. So that's not the right answer. But then remember what I said. We said some animals live in the wild and some animals live with people. So there's two groups of animals, right? Some animals live in the wild, some animals live with people as pets. So D is our right answer. Some animals live with people. Okay, let's move on to our last item here. This is a little wrap-up or review. How do pet dogs help people? So as we saw in the reading passage, we saw many different examples of how dogs help people. Here we can see this picture here. This is a dog helping a blind person. Dogs help blind people 3 main ways. They help blind people walk. They help blind people walk to where they're going. That's 1. 2, they help blind people cross the street because there's many cars, right? So dogs help blind people cross the street. They wait until it's safe and then they cross the street. Dogs help blind people get home safely. Without dogs, blind people might get lost. So dogs help blind people get home safely. Okay, so that's how dogs help blind people. Dogs help deaf people in other ways. We read about those ways. One way, dogs help deaf people hear things. So if a deaf person cannot hear the doorbell, cannot hear the telephone, the dog can hear that, and they can help the person know about that. They, dogs, touch deaf people if they hear something. So if dogs hear something like the doorbell or the telephone, they can touch the deaf person. Hey, there's something happening, right? Dogs can also be alarm clocks. So dogs can also go and lick somebody or touch somebody. Hey, get up. It's time to wake up. So dogs can also be alarm clocks. Okay, so this was lesson 4. And in lesson 4, we were talking about how animals help people. And of course, we saw very specifically how dogs are very helpful animals, probably the most helpful pet. But many pets can be helpful. We saw how dogs can help blind people, dogs can help deaf people, but dogs can help everybody. All animals can help everybody. Pets can help us not to feel lonely, so we aren't lonely. We can also play with pets, and we can learn a lot of important things from pets too. How to take care of pets, how to care for other things. So pets are very useful, and pets can really help us. And of course, we help pets too. So that's a good question. Do you have a pet at home? Is it a helpful pet? I hope that it is. I hope that it helps you and it helps make your life better. Okay, well that wraps it up for this lesson. We'll see you again next time. Take care.